Some animals get a bad rap, like the Massasauga rattlesnake, Ontario's only venomous snake.
They move differently than what people expect. They can surprise you.
And the cormorant, a bird known for destroying trees.
It feels like we're in a war sometimes, and that it's us versus the cormorants.
But where animals and humans coexist, how do you stop a bad reputation from pushing a species towards extinction? In Killbear Provincial Park, on Georgian Bay in Lake Huron, a call comes in. A Massasauga rattlesnake is somewhere it's not supposed to be. Without this intervention, there's a risk of a serious attack. The snake needs to be protected from humans.
Basically everywhere that are considered at risk because they have been persecuted. They are considered a threatened species.
As Ontario's only venomous snake, the Massasauga rattlesnake is vilified. Even the local park staff used to kill these snakes whenever they got the chance.
Up until about 1970, park policy basically was kill the rattlesnakes because people back then didn't know a lot about them. They were frightened. They thought they were really dangerous. And so staff would look after those rattlesnakes by killing them. They move differently than what people expect. They don't have legs. They don't have arms. They can surprise you. They're silent for the most part, and often you don't see the rattlesnake and all of a sudden it's there. And so there's a kind of a shock value.
With thousands of visitors coming to the park each year and hundreds of snakes slithering around, Kenton Otterbine's hardest job is convincing people that the snakes are nothing to be afraid of.
We've had 3 visitors bitten at Killbear over the last 54 years. It's not life-threatening. No one's died from a rattlesnake bite in Ontario for over 50 years. They don't look for trouble. They're not coming around looking for people, and they don't spring up from the ground and try and get you at the jugular or anything like that.
They actually do the opposite. Snakes have evolved to do whatever it takes to steer clear from humans and other predators.
So we're looking for rattlesnakes out here on these rock barrens. Camouflage is their #1 defense, really. Usually rattle let you know, hey, I'm a rattlesnake, don't come any closer. So they're quite polite that way. But if you don't listen to that warning and you want to play crocodile hunter and pick up a rattlesnake, yeah, chances are it's then going to bite you. To see whether there's one in here. They can be tough to see. If they're in the blueberries, it's going to be really tough to see. Sometimes you just do there you go. So the rattlesnake is right here. I can't still quite see it, but I can hear it. They've got really good camouflage, and let's see. There she is, and she's such a perfect spot. She's back in that crevice. There's no way you can get her. She thinks I'm a predator. She's really well camouflaged in here, so as soon as the predator got too close, her instinct is to find a good hiding spot and to skitter away like that. Not interested in biting at all, just wants to get away. The other one's over here in the below the pine, but she's a bit tougher to find. I don't want to disturb her too much anymore. I'm surprised she's going away. I guess she's annoyed.
Here, in the natural beauty of Killbear, most campers can expect that living among wildlife is a part of the fun. A few hundred kilometers south, in Toronto, Canada's largest city, residents are living with another vilified animal, the cormorant.
Cormorants are the most tenacious bird that I have ever had the pleasure of working with.
They're nesting on the Leslie Street Spit, a man-made park created from construction debris jutting out into Lake Ontario. The area is home to thousands of birds.
We've recorded 316 bird species. You know, the animals don't evolve that quickly, so they're still programmed to fly through Toronto because it had the habitat they needed for their stopover as they're migrating from really long distances as far as South America all the way up to the Arctic. Because of all these species, as well as the significance of the site for overwintering waterfowl, Toronto is the Florida for Arctic ducks, as well as the significance of a stopover for passerine birds, the site was declared a globally significant important bird area in 2000 by BirdLife International.
The cormorants started nesting here in the 1980s and slowly took over huge sections of the park. These seabirds aren't vilified for how they treat humans, but for how they treat the trees they nest in.
So there's definitely a lot of pressure in Toronto about the effect that cormorants have on tree canopy, and people get very concerned because there isn't a lot of tree canopy in Toronto. So this is an example of a cormorant nesting peninsula here. This is Peninsula C versus Peninsula D. Cormorants kill the trees that they nest in, and trees are under threat from a few different ways. Their guano, or their feces, is naturally acidic, and that impacts the tree directly. Specifically in this sandy habitat, it desiccates the roots. Cormorants also are really great flyers, but bad landers. So they like to clear a path to their nests. So they rip down the branches, which also stresses the tree out. The guano coats the leaves of the tree, which prevents the tree from photosynthesizing. So if the tree can't photosynthesize, it can't produce the energy it needs to grow and to live. In these ways, cormorants kill their nesting habitat.
In cities around the world, cormorants are killed by the thousands to keep them from destroying the tree canopy and to keep them away from important fishing areas. Toronto is home to the largest cormorant colony in the Great Lakes, and it's one of the few that doesn't use lethal force to keep the population in check. Karen McDonald knows that the cormorants are just as important to the ecosystem as the trees they live in. They just need a little human interference.
This is the largest area we have of tree nesting cormorants, and this is also the area where we drew the line in the sand, and we said, cormorants, you are allowed to nest over here, but you are not allowed to nest over here. It's not an us versus them, it's we're in this together type thing. They're supposed to be here, and we need to figure out a way to live in harmony with them.
While Karen is working on a way to save the cormorants and the trees, Kenton is trying to save the snakes from a deadly situation.
Roads cause our population of snakes to plummet pretty quickly.
In Killbear Provincial Park on Georgian Bay in Lake Huron, Kenton Otterbein is trying to help the Massasauga rattlesnakes and humans share the same land. At his office, Kenton's team has a surprise visitor, A cottager dropped off a rattlesnake he found on his property.
They didn't want to kill it, which is good, but they also didn't want it on their property. And so they brought it into the park. We ordinarily don't accept things like that, and we're not going to accept this. We are going to be taking it back to them, but we're going to process the snake. So the snake's annoyed, which I would be too if I was in a pillowcase for a day. What we try and do is get the snake to go up the tube. And sometimes we give it a bit of a prod down here to make it go up, encourage it. And once it's safely like that, you can grab it like that. And now the business end of the snake is safely encased in the tube, and we can do what we need to do down here at this end of the snake. So the snake is a full-grown adult with a nice rattle. So what we're going to do next is we're going to actually measure the tail, which is the length between the vent, which is right between my fingers here, and the where the rattle begins. And this looks like it's a male because it's very long.
It's 7.5.
Measuring the snakes helps them keep track of the animals and monitor their health.
The next thing we'll be doing is actually putting a microchip in it. You just basically pinch a spot on the snake and inject the needle. There we go. And now I'll plunge just underneath the skin. He's going to squirm when I do this.
There it goes.
That's as bad as it gets. And then we put a bit of glue. Yeah, glue this, and then don't touch the glue because you don't want to have a rattlesnake glued to yourself.
No.
So we'll just let this dry for a second.
Striking away there.
Oh, that's... There he goes, okay.
The snake is put into this bucket on top of a grid pattern. Each of these grids is 1 centimeter, so they can accurately tell the exact dimensions of the snake without actually having to handle it.
So on rattlesnakes, their blotch patterns are individual to each snake. And on this one, if we count down from the head, they're all normal shaped, kind of like butterfly shape down the back, except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 8th one is a U shape, and so that'll be its distinctive one.
Now that the checkup is done, Kenton will take it back to the cottage where it was found, whether they like it or not.
If they move them too far out of their home range, then come fall, the snake doesn't know where to go to hibernate. It's trying to look for its old hibernation spot, and when the frosts come and winter comes, it likely just died instead of finding a new spot. We've been working for years, decades really, to try and get people to realize that they can live with and cottage with and camp with rattlesnakes in the area, and they don't have to worry too much, they don't have to kill them, that we can coexist nicely with them, just with a few precautions basically. Now a lot of people realize that, oh, I can move it safely. If I get a big garbage can and a rake, I can get that snake into a garbage can, and I can move that snake off of my path down to the dock, and I can move it over here perhaps into like a couple hundred meters away into a suitable habitat. There we go.
Kenton talks to as many people as he can, educating them about the snakes and their importance to this park. Even though it seems to be working, the snakes are still at risk from cars.
So for rattlesnakes, the biggest dangers to them are really roads.
Even if humans aren't doing it intentionally, they're still killing up to 15 snakes per year on these roads.
15 is way too many for sure. Like, that's going to cause our population of snakes to plummet pretty quickly.
Now, Killbear is installing fencing throughout the park to funnel the snakes to a safe crossing zone called an eco passage.
So the snake fence is designed to corral the snakes as they're attempting to cross the road and send them towards the eco passage here. And we have a antenna right here, which is a passive reader, which reads the microchips of the snakes. And then the snake goes over the antenna and then on down through the eco passage across to the other side of the road.
It has an open grate on top to let the sun shine through. Perfect for snakes who love basking in the sunlight. This camera is set up so that researchers can get a look at their handiwork in action.
The camera trap is designed to take a photo once a minute, day and night, and hopefully it'll pick up any rattlesnakes or fox snakes or other species that are moving back and forth.
The eco passages are working. Since they've been built, they're down to only 2 rattlesnake roadkills per year.
If we were to get it down to 0, I think we'd have to have so many kilometers of snake fence that it would just become a little bit unreasonable. So I think we're at a pretty good state.
The key to the Massasauga rattlesnake survival is getting humans on board, to respect their space and ultimately to leave them alone.
Even if they don't like snakes, as long as they don't kill snakes, that's what I'm really going for. I want people to tolerate. If you like them, great. If you love them, even better. But as long as you don't kill them and you're willing to have them on the landscape with you and we can coexist.
While snakes just need to be left alone, cormorants need a gentle nudge to help with their image makeover.
Woo! Get out of there! Get out of there! Woo! Go nest on the ground!
Toronto, Canada's largest city, is home to 12,000 nesting pairs of cormorants, the largest colony in the Great Lakes. Cormorants have a reputation as a tree killer, destroying trees that they choose to nest in. They're also not exactly gentle to researchers trying to get a closer look at the nests.
I'm gonna put on my bright orange raincoat because we might get pooped on and vomited on. And that's because cormorants' defense strategy for when they sense a predator is to regurgitate their last meal so that the predator takes the meal and not themselves. So this is a cormorant tree nesting colony. This area was once a healthy forest. About 11 years ago, cormorants first started to nest here, and since that time, we've seen the tree canopy completely decline and fail. So Nikita and Dean are here counting cormorant nests. They're approaching each tree that's got a unique tag on it, and you guys are looking up to see how many cormorants are nesting in this tree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 nests in this one tree. What's your record, Nikita, for the number of nests?
Over 40.
Over 40 nests, and I recall a tree from several years back that actually had 96 nests in it.
This stark wasteland is inevitable when cormorants nest in trees. So instead of getting rid of the cormorants, Karen is trying to get them to nest on the ground instead.
TRCA has taken the strategy that we want to keep their tree nesting to where they currently are and not let it get any bigger, but encourage them to ground nest, and then that way they're not affecting the tree canopy and we get to have a thriving cormorant colony.
For a cormorant, there's no difference between nesting on the ground or nesting in a tree, except that they can't cause destruction on the ground. When the push started in 2008, 85% of the cormorants were nesting in trees.
So cormorants are the most tenacious bird that I have ever had the pleasure of working with. Even though you try to reason with them and they appear to sort of get where you're coming from in that, you walk into an area, you disturb them from the area and they fly away, they come back. And it's an ongoing dialogue we have with them where we want them to leave, they don't want to leave, so they keep returning to basically communicate with us. No, this is where we want to nest, and we're trying to communicate back, We want you to nest at the park, we just don't want you to nest in this spot. They're an escalating scale, so it basically starts with us just being present in the colony. And early in the breeding season, that tends to work really well. But as the season goes on, these birds are compelled by their biology to nest. So what we end up doing is we get a little bit more aggressive with our techniques. It goes something like this. Hey, hey, get out of there, get out of there. Woo-hoo, 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 woo. Woo-hoo, get out of there, get out of there. Woo-hoo, go nest on the ground. Go, 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 go.
Believe it or not, it actually works. Now more than half of the cormorants are nesting on the ground, and that number is increasing every year.
So here we are on Peninsula B in the ground nesting colony, and this is a large colony. Last year it numbered well over 6,000 nests, and we want to see this happening because this means if cormorants aren't nesting in the trees, they're nesting on the ground, and that's not affecting tree canopy. It feels like we're in a war sometimes, and that it's us versus the cormorants, and for a little while this year it felt like cormorants might have been winning. But finally this week, I feel like we are winning this war. They've stopped the pressure to nest in the trees, and for the first time since management began, we successfully have cormorants ground nesting on Peninsula A, which was an objective of ours.
The cormorants may be considered a pest to some, but they're an important part of Toronto's wilderness. Like beavers, they're nature's architect, reshaping the forests. By destroying trees, they're actually creating habitat for ground nesting birds.
I'd say that cormorants are a good news story for Toronto and for Tommy Thompson Park because they were almost extirpated from this province, from this area. And the fact that they've been able to return and return so successfully in an urban area, which is contrary to what a lot of people think, is testament to their ability to endure in the face of all odds, but also of Toronto's willingness to be tolerant of them.
Whether it's in a park or in a big city, humans and animals are sharing more of this planet than ever before. Even though they may be a bit threatening, or even just a bit annoying, these creatures are an important part of the ecosystem, and a bad reputation shouldn't get in the way of their survival.
I think that cormorants have done a really good job of making people understand that you have to live with nature. We love trees so much that we just have to come to a better understanding of how wildlife uses those habitats, and that the repercussions of their use is not necessarily the end of the world, and that after they use a habitat, it becomes species for something else, and then eventually it's going to return to its forested landscape.
They've done so much education, and a lot of people are becoming tolerators, if not appreciators of snakes, that there's less killing going on. They're an important part of the landscape. They're part of the food chain. They eat mice and chipmunks. They get eaten by things like fishers and red-shouldered hawks and broad-winged hawks and things like that. So it's all part of the cycle. So they're an important animal that we have, and they make this area richer because of it.